Very good. I will call this meeting of the Executive and Finance Standing Committee to order. Supervisor Williamson is unable to attend tonight, so I'll be chairing. I would ask the clerk to take the roll, please.
That's Carroll.
Here.
Schoonover.
Here.
Manning. Here. Turk.
Here.
Frank.
Here.
Severson. Williamson. Louis. We have 5 present.
Very good. And are we in compliance with the open meetings law?
Yes, Mr.
Supervisor Turk.
The meeting is probably yours.
We have before us a 14-point agenda. We are going to remove item 10 from the agenda. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda with that tweak. Motion by Manning, second by Frank. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, we have the minutes from the September 9th meeting distributed. There was a typo already caught, corrected that there is no 125th day of August. So that was fixed. Any other corrections, comments, questions on the minutes from last time? Hearing none, with that date typo fixed, we'll declare the minutes to be approved as presented. Item number 6, public comment. I do have one form from Mr. Gordon Palmer who wishes to address the committee. Go ahead.
I sit here.
Yep.
I'm Gordon Palmer. I guess most of you know who I am. I was a member of the original ad hoc committee that was formed back in 2014, which created the Joint Ambulance Committee. Since that time, from January 1st, 2015, when the Joint Ambulance Committee took over, I have represented Richland Township every single year except 2020 and half of 21 when I was dealing with an illness and recovery. But midway through 21 up to the present, I've again been representing Richland Township. We had a JAC meeting Monday of this week. And I understand from that meeting that a contract will be sent out in the next few days to the municipalities that make up the JAC. This contract will be replacing a memorandum of understanding that the JAC has operated under for the last 10 years. We have operated under a memorandum of understanding. And that agreement was negotiated between the county and the municipalities, mainly that summer of 2014 when we met week after week after week and finally came to that agreement. The key word was an agreement was negotiated. Now this memorandum of understanding has been replaced without any negotiations between the county and the municipalities. And I look at the committee and I don't see any face on the committee that in the past 10 years have been at a JAC meeting or have contacted any JAC member that I'm aware of to find out what's going on, yet now this committee and most of the county board are making decisions without contacting the people that have been there and doing the work for the past 10 years. Under the new contract, it's my understanding that Richland Township will be paying for 192.75 ambulance calls per year at a cost of $225 per call. Under the present memorandum of understanding, Richland Township has been paying for 57 calls per year at $170 per call. We were paying $9,690 for the last 3 or 4 years. That's going to be raised under this new contract to $43,369 a year. One of the main reasons for this increase is the fact that ambulance calls to Pine Valley Manor will be billed to Richland Township. The township has nothing to do with Pine Valley. Pine Valley should be removed from Richland Township. We get no property tax, we get nothing from Pine Valley. So we're paid, even if you remove Pine Valley from Richland Township's calls, that still leaves 124 calls that you'll be billing Richland Township for. That would be $27,900, from $96.90 to $27,900. That's unacceptable to Richland Township also. We dispute
You're
that.
past your 3 minutes, but I'll give you a few
I don't
seconds to
believe
wrap.
I am, but
Yes,
go
you are.
ahead. I don't believe that that number is correct also. We question that number. Okay, going ahead.
You got a few seconds.
We
to
were
wrap.
told, if we don't like the contract, don't sign it, find your ambulance service somewhere else. That's not going to be easy for Richland Township that has an island called the City of Richland Center in the middle. We will not be able to find anybody to do it. When asked later on in the meeting, so what you're saying, if we can't find ambulance service to cover Richland Center, and we call and need an ambulance, Richland County will not come? And the answer was yes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other members of the public that wish to address the committee? Anybody online? All right, thank you. Let's move on to item 7, which is reports, starting with the administrator's report.
So we continue to work on fully utilizing Tyler. We are in the process of implementing time and attendance, and we'll be going live on October 23rd. We currently have some pilot groups using the system and providing feedback to us, and we're working on setting up a training for staff next week. Open enrollment for health insurance will be starting next month. We are looking at offering some additional option to employees at no cost to the county. We'll be looking to offer vision insurance, accident insurance, and critical illness insurance. So those are things that the employee can take and cover the full cost themselves. We are in the final stages of reviewing the third of the job descriptions with DDA, and they will be here at our next meeting to present their findings. And then this week, I, along with Clerk Kalish and 4 board members, attended the WCA conference, and the sessions I attended were on county leadership development, cybersecurity, county constitutional officers, strategic planning, and facility planning. I thought it was a very good conference. That's my update.
Very good. Questions for the administrator? Supervisor Carroll and I also attended the conference, as did Supervisor Williams and Supervisor Hendricks. And it's our intention to have a chance for us all to report out during the next full board meeting on the report section. So. All right, if there are no questions, we'll move on to item B, the radio tower project update.
So the biggest thing that I want to use my time here to talk about is what steps are being taken to ensure that all emergency responder agencies that serve Richland County residents are prepared for the changeover. So communication with them started back in July from me, with emails being sent on July 11 and July 24th. Another email was sent to all of them on August 20th, and then again this week, along with a letter that went out on Monday. What we are looking to fund for these agencies is the reprogramming of their radios. The information that we need from them is what are their radios, the names. We need to get all of that set up for them, and then we need to have them give us a bid to reprogram them. So if you are hearing from agencies that are saying they haven't had communication, please direct them to me. We are giving them the deadline of October 15th. I know Mike has been communicating with them, and he does plan to do some additional phone calls next week to connect with all of them. So So that is one of the things that we're really trying to make sure that everybody has what they need so they can continue to serve their people.
And overall, the project is still targeting completion by end of the year?
Yes.
So if I can add, completion, operational. and-
Crossover is still
Right.
December 15th.
Right, there's still the final check, which they'll have to do when the leaves are on and the corn is up,
Yep.
which will be next year. That'll be the final radio check, because they want to do that when the conditions are the worst. So doing that final check will be, didn't want people to think it was, the magic was on that day.
So there's 3 towers. in our-
9.
9. Is you will the last tower to go up?
Yes, all the rest are, the civil
Completely
work
done.
is completely finished, you is the last one.
Mr. Carroll?
Refresh my memory on who's bearing the cost for the radios needing to be reprogrammed or?
That was built into all of the 8 million that was originally borrowed. They had a line for subscriber support, so it is part of the tower project.
So the different agencies are not the ones that will be having, okay.
Correct, correct. That's where we need the bid so that we know how much
Yep.
that we will need to be reimbursed.
Okay.
And we're reprogramming existing radios, we're not buying any new equipment for them, it's just reprogramming their equipment, correct?
That's correct.
If the equipment can be reprogrammed.
Right. And that's the information we're needing from agencies is what is the equipment you have? Can it be used? And if it can't, where are you at with
Yeah.
it? From what we understand, there are quite a few that have what they need. There are a few that we're not quite sure yet.
Well, especially in my area up there with the towers not up.
It'll be up and
How-
ready to go.
I don't know how they're going to be able to, until it's up to find out whether the radios will actually work or not.
So there's a radio standard that they can follow, and if they follow the P25 standard when purchasing radios, it will work.
Yeah.
So whether the tower is up or not isn't the question. It's, well, will their radios, have they been purchasing radios over the last few years that meet the new standard? If they have, they'll be fine. If they haven't, that's the question.
This Mark, hey, I got a workaround. Is there a workaround for that? Because some of these districts aren't gonna have them radios.
What we've been telling people is if they don't have what they need to let us know. And that's where we're really struggling because we're not getting 100% communication from agencies. So from the ones that have communicated with us, we haven't run across anyone that does not have radios that will not work. But we
Who
also,
has communicated?
I think we're a little unclear with Yuba. We've started communications this week with them. Casanova we're unclear of. I think everybody else has, for the most part, so it's twofold. It's not just what radios they have, but we also need to know other information as far as how they're set up, the type, and if you can jump in if I'm
Okay,
not
okay,
always
so-
explaining everything
Yeah,
right.
no, so there will be a list of frequencies or a list of channel order that the county will be putting out. And that is the recommended, if you're gonna be on the system, you have to have that order, that block of order. And you will know if, once you put that in, if your radios will work or not. You should be able to tell ahead of time if the radio can be programmed to those block of channels in that order. They can also then program an area in the radios that allow them to do their own internal communication, their own work. But we want to make sure that across the county, if someone says, go to this channel, everybody knows where that is for interoperability purposes. So that then comes the question, will their radios handle multiple groups? And we need some of that information from all the agencies, and I think as Tricia had clearly mentioned, most of them have gotten back, some have not, and some have not gotten back with information that identifies what the radio capabilities are. And that's difficult and frustrating to put a plan together without all the information. Is that fair?
So we've called all the local ones, so Muscadet, Blue River, Lone Rock. You've already talked about Casnonia and so on.
We have not heard from Viola at all. We have not heard from Lafarge. I did talk with the chief of fire in Viola this past weekend and let him know what we are looking for.
Muscadet, Muscadet is being handled by Grant, so the information is going to Grant County because the main programming is done through Grant. So that communication is being shared with them so that they can then get a hold of the agencies that touch Richland. And they're also their own law enforcement. They're going to need to know, as they come in and out of our county for communication services, what the new system is. So it's other counties also, not just us.
Yeah, because Grant doesn't have this new type of radio, is my understanding.
Grant redid all their systems 2-3 years ago. I worked with one of their people there, and we've been in communication with that a few years ago, well, 2 years ago even. And I know they had the new fiber ring up for all their systems, all their towers. They've done incredible work in the last few years. So I think they are up to or surpassing what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't think the Muscadet is there. The only reason why I'm bringing this up is because I'm on that fire board for Orman.
Okay.
And I don't think, I'll have to do some talking with Jeff and see where they're at and make sure he's getting hold of the county so that we're where we need to be. Because there's some, and I don't understand this and I'm not gonna intend to, but Iowa County, of course, Muscat's got Iowa County and Grant County and Richland. And there's, I don't know, there's something going on there. One of the counties, Richland didn't have this new radio, we're going to it. I don't know if Iowa Counties is up to speed yet.
So Iowa County,
I think Grant has a workaround where they hadn't had to buy new radios and they're doing something different. I could be wrong with that, but I'm not versed in it, but that's what I'm hearing.
Iowa County is on the state WISCOM system along with, I think, Juneau's on that now. I'd have to double check, see if they've completed their work. So yeah, they are, Iowa County is definitely unique and they have gateways that do transfers for calls and for radio traffic.
Okay, well, I'll talk with them. I just want to make sure they're doing what they need to do. So
Yeah, if those agencies get a hold of Trish, that's the answer, so we can have that communication and get the results that we need.
Will do, thank you.
You need.
Very good. Other questions? If not, then we'll move on to item C under reports, ambulance service contract.
So after the full county board meeting last week, it was requested that a contract be brought to this committee for review. Mike did draft that up. We are hoping to send it out to all the municipalities tomorrow with their information as far as their call numbers and what the total amount will be.
This basically took what we had outlined in our previously considered memo and formatted it in contract language. And
yeah, so as is frequently the case, there was actually a model service contract that was available. So I incorporated the terms of the MOU and revised that model contract to present what you see before you. There was some extraneous stuff related to if you had contracted with like a corporate provider, but it met the concerns that I had that were lacking in the MOU, and I think just provides more protections for both parties through clearly defined terms.
questions from committee members?
So I guess to bring up some of the questions that were brought up earlier, just to make sure we're addressing them, the Pine Valley Manor question that is currently then billed to Richland Township. Is that,
So
I know there's been some
historically,
discussion.
my understanding is Pine Valley calls were billed to Richland Center. There was a gentleman's handshake back when this all started where the mayor said, we'll just take those calls, is my understanding.
Okay.
And Richland Center said they're not ours, it's not in our area, it's not in the city limits, it's not our responsibility. Because it falls in the town of Richland, that's where those calls should then go to.
So then that handshake was really never documented anywhere, and
Correct.
there's no support for that.
They were never charged to Richland Center. Darren Gudgeon, talk to him. They never build Richland Center for
No,
us. They wouldn't build it anyway until now.
Committee is discussing, Mr. Palmer.
And one other thought, and I just have lost it at this moment right now.
Mr. Carroll.
I don't know the laws around the EMS service requirements, but is there another way to do this?
Do what?
Well, in other words, it does sound like the Pine Valley calls are landing on one township that on the surface doesn't sound fair, but I don't, that's what I'm saying, I don't understand the laws to know what an alternative possibly could be.
My understanding is that municipalities have an obligation to provide ambulance service to those individuals who live in their area. Because Pine Valley falls in their area, just as Schmidt falls into the city area, just as our house falls into the city area, just as Harvest Group Home falls in the city area, they are responsible for those calls. The county is not responsible to provide ambulance service.
Understood.
And that's true for accidents that happen on highways and things like that too. Wherever it happens is where the call is billed, correct?
Yes.
Question,
Mr. Palmer.
does the county pay any property taxes to the town of Richland?
No.
No. So why are we responsible for Pine Valley? The county should be, if anyone is.
Your opinion is noted, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So to your point, this is a contract, there's not really legalities or there's nothing specifically binding us to terms, so I think it would require full board action again, but if the committee or board wanted to say, you know what, we'll eat the cost of Pine Valley calls, that would be within the scope of your authority. There was some discussion at the Joint Ambulance Committee about splitting the cost of those calls throughout the county. Those all get to be more complicated arrangements, and that's not what's reflected in here. But if it is truly, your intention to see some exemption made for Pine Valley, given the county's ownership of that, I can work with that. But otherwise, it is where the facility is located.
If we eat the cost, it is then by default spread throughout the county because the county property tax dollars paying it, so.
Well, I guess just to have a comment, I understand the gentleman's frustration. When it does fall in their quote-unquote area. But Pine Valley Manor helps the entire county, not just Richland Township. So I can see where it's kind of unfair that they have to pay all of the ambulances that go there when the entire county benefits from having Pine Valley Manor down there.
Mr. Carroll.
So you were mentioning the facilities within the city of Richland Center. So Richland Center's budget has apparently covered the cost of those ambulance runs that are within the city, even though these facilities were, okay, so there's a precedent then.
The ones in the city are paying property taxes.
Necessarily.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Cooey, go ahead.
that would be my point. The difference that I see is the city is generating revenue from those entities where the township doesn't generate anything from Pine Valley. And I was on that committee since the start of it when I was in Eagle, and then I was on it for the county board for a few terms. It'd be interesting to see. I'm pretty sure that the county's been, either we didn't charge Pine Valley or the county was paying for it indirectly. I'm pretty sure that that's where that probably showed up in write-offs, but I'm not 100%. We'd have to go back and look at that billing. Or talk to Darren. Darren would know better than anybody. But that's where I see a difference here. I understand that the township's gonna have a hard time swinging that. And when the township doesn't generate any revenue from it, then it's even harder. At least your taxpayers, I mean, townships get hit with a drive-through and something happens, but other than that, the taxpayers, the little bit that the townships get, they do, that's why they provide that service, so that would be my opinion. I can see where we need to do something different with Pine Valley.
Other committee members? Mr. Clements, go ahead.
I think what the struggle is and where we're at right now is, when they were reviewing the budget at the JAC, it found that the dollar amount that was entered in there for revenue from the municipalities was overstated. So we did have to adjust that, which took away any additional funds to put into a new ambulance outlay. So we are really at a bare bones budget right now where there is zero extra revenue in there to do anything to try to have a sustainable long-range program. If we are going to continue this service, we have to do something different, or we are going to start to have to add a levy to this service. And when we start to look at the future and mandatory services, essential services, this is not a service that the county is required to provide. So I just want us to really think about this moving forward, because this isn't sustainable how we have it right now.
Mr. Frank.
So I want to thank you for the number crunching, because the number crunching to figure out all the pieces that the ambulance touches, all the, from the bookkeeping to the medical supplies, and all that is I don't want to see that spreadsheet. It's, you know, just the pieces of that come together. So when the ambulance does a call and they bill insurance or they bill somebody, that money then goes,
To the service.
back into the service.
Back into the
So
service.
that's been calculated in too,
Correct.
as to then they're going to be getting money back from insurance. They don't always get money back from insurance. Sometimes they lose.
Yes.
So you've even taken the possible revenue. So if we actually build the townships and the agencies and let them do their own billing for insurance, that number is going to be a whole lot higher. If that makes
Yes.
sense, because then they got their own billing. Okay.
Mr. Cooey, go ahead.
Yeah, one thing with that is all the Medicare and Medicaid, you know, there's insane write-offs on that. If I remember, and this, don't hold me to these numbers, but we had to charge somewhere around $700-800 for a call. And of course, Medicare would only pay like $250 or $300 of it. So you got insane write-offs on top of it. So I mean, the private pay is the only thing that you get in full if you get it. One thing I would say is billing has been a challenge. There was a time when Dakota did a really good job, then they got rid of Dakota because they weren't doing a very good job, and I think the billing companies have been a struggle, and that's not just in Richland County, or at the ambulances. We see the same thing in Muscoda also, but there's just a lot of money that's never going to be taken in that you have to make sure that you recoup all that you can, right? So if they're only going to pay 30% or 40%, we got to make sure that the rates are in the right place so that, and that's not the township rate necessarily as it is the rate for the service. So that would be another thing that we would want to make sure that we're paying close attention to so that you're optimizing what you can return. Because the majority of our calls in Richland County, I would assume, are Medicare, Medicaid, something along that line.
75%.
85%?
75 to 80%.
Yep.
Just had a question about, you mentioned the other nursing homes in town, but privately owned ones, let's say Pine Valley was totally privately owned. Who would they bill them?
Well, they bill whoever they're answering the call for, they bill in insurance. As it is, if Pine Valley were privately owned and in Richland Township, the way it is right now, Richland Township would also be billed for the call.
It wouldn't change anything.
Right. Not on the billing side anymore. Other committee questions? Mr. Carroll?
Is there a time urgency on making this decision?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, council, if we wanted to make any change, it's not on the agenda tonight, so we'd have to put it on our next executive and finance agenda and get it to the full board in October, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And what the challenge with that is, municipalities need to make a decision.
Yep.
And we need to know if they're going to go with our service so that we can make decisions.
So is this, can we hand, or bill out, can we start the contracts, the agreements with all the other ones and hold this whole
Well,
Richland? I mean, I think it should be blanket.
we can send out the contracts. We had expressed when we were discussing this that, you know, looking at call numbers and stuff could still happen while they're considering the contracts.
It's true.
And so we could double check data and make sure call numbers were accurate and things like that. That's all stuff we've said before. So if we were going to look at the issue of calls to Pine Valley, that could be part of that consideration that we were doing in that process. Am I correct?
And I believe the JAC is meeting again in October to talk about sharing Pine Valley calls amongst all of the municipalities that are part of it.
Could I make one final last
Mr. Bummer,
comment?
go ahead.
I said that if you took away the Pine Valley calls, it went from the 192 down to 124. And we dispute that number also. I honestly believe that Pine Valley was already included in the 124. I think you're double dipping us on Pine Valley. So we need to check those calls. I mentioned that
We will check the
to
calls for accuracy.
Mike Jessen when he gave out a total number of calls when he was still here, and he said he was billing Pine Valley to Richland. And I said, no, that we never
We'll check
have.
the call data and we'll get real numbers.
All right, because we don't believe them now.
Those calls are all recorded, so we have data we can go find. All right, so,
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
yes, Mr. Cooey.
I'd just be curious what Pine Valley's cost is for the year, based on what the, you know, I mean, if we
You mean
break
if it
that
were
out.
billed to Pine Valley?
Yeah,
Okay.
They have an average of 68 calls per year, so I'd have to do the math.
15,000
About $15,000.
At the new proposed rate. 68 calls at 225 is $15,300.
Did you hear that, Mark?
yeah, so that's what we'd have to pay if it went to the county.
Yep, we'd have to figure out a way to pay it.
I understand the figuring it out, but in this first year, until we get time for the township's gotta figure out a way to either
Absolutely.
deal with this and or create a district or something has to be done to make this work. And just in my opinion, that first year, maybe we just have to take Pine Valley and figure it out. I think everybody's very much aware of how I feel about the county running the ambulance. I don't feel it's our place to run the ambulance, but I think we have the opportunity to create this district, which probably should have been created 7, 8 years ago when it started.
All right. Any other comments from the committee or questions?
I would just highlight that the contract is for 1 year. There's a very definitive cutoff date, similar to what was in the Simon's agreement, so that should be enough time for, you know, things to get figured out without unnecessarily binding up municipalities.
Okay. Good. Again, no action we can take on this tonight, it's just a report. We want to see it on the next executive and finance agenda, we can certainly request that. Let's move on to item 8, discussion and possible action on the 2026 preliminary budget.
I will let Clerk Kalish take the lead on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you should all have the updated items in your packet. I'm going to try to talk and scroll at the same time. I'm not sure how effective I'm going to be at that, but if my screen will minimize that share. One second. So I will go over the changes that we made to the budget based on the preliminary one that you guys reviewed last night. So there were a couple changes made, nothing major, but as I noted at our last meeting, as more updated totals have been received from various entities, we've updated those numbers as such. So one of the first numbers we updated was the sales tax number. We originally had that budgeted at $1,550,000. We updated that to $1,600,000. Two reasons for that. We looked at our current projection, and it's trending to be about 1,577 currently. That's just midway through the year. We're about 788,000. Also received from Forward Analytics, which many of you are probably familiar with Forward Analytics. They provide counties lots of information, lots of various types of information, but they did also provide us with a projected low range and high range for sales tax. I'm very uncomfortable with their projected high range of the sales tax and a little uncomfortable with their low range of sales tax too. But looking at our range, we thought it was fair and safe to increase our projected sales tax from the 1.550 to the 1.6. Again, we probably could have went a little more, but as I said before, I like to be really conservative with that number because we don't know what that's going to be. So one change in our revenues was that, the sales tax change. The other change in revenues was our shared revenue. So for the purpose of creating that preliminary budget, I just used the number that we had last year for shared revenue. We did receive our original estimate of shared revenue. So that number changed from $2,221,152.84. It changed to $2,261,096.26. So a little bit of an increase from what we had before. Again, I try to look at past averages when I create that new number and extrapolate as good as I can until those numbers come out. So we weren't too far off, but nonetheless, we did have a bump in revenue then from the shared revenues being received.
So just a little less than $40,000.
Yep. So we updated that number because those are original estimates. So the DOR will send these final estimates in November, but we're well beyond the budget being passed at that point. So the original estimates are usually what they're going to be unless something dramatic happens. The other value I changed, you're going to love this, was Southwest Regional Planning Commission. We budgeted them at $18,637.54. It should have been 55 cents. So I adjusted that penny so it matched exactly what Southwest Regional Planning was. So we got that penny in there. I want to make sure we're not
another penny.
over budget, I know. So I cost you another penny, I'm so sorry. And then as Administrator Clements noted regarding the ambulance budget, that one was adjusted. So we adjusted the core expenses for that budget from $951,750 to $898,313.78. That adjustment was made. We removed that $53,436.32 that Administrator Clements just mentioned for the new ambulance in there. So that item was removed from that budget. So we reduced that expense a little bit. However, we did reduce the revenues as well. So the $326,000 that was budgeted for fees or revenues, that was reduced to $245,981.25, and that would have been for the service agreements. We adjusted that number because it was it just was, as Administrator Clements said, a little overinflated. And then also, to kind of go in line with that, then the ambulance fees invoice was $1,025,000. That was actually raised to $1,051,582.53. Again, looking at the various numbers associated with the ambulance that you all just kind of briefly talked about. So those were created for that ambulance budget. It still has a zero levy, as we said, but I just want to echo the comment that zero levy is not sustainable and it's not hope. We're getting very close to that not being a reality any longer. So FYI, that is a very fair statement that Administrator Clements made for that budget in particular. Aside from that then, with making these changes as they've kind of came to us, we were able to reduce the amount of general fund balance that we have to apply to this budget from $303,026.27 to $245,000, $292.86. So that's good news for us. We're using less of our general fund balance applied to make this budget work, so I was happy to see that. Two other things are levy. When I put this preliminary budget numbers together, the levy limit worksheet just came out on around September 15th. So when we did the prelim, I was able to, let me scroll down. It's a little arranged differently on here. I don't know why I can't click things like I normally can, so sorry, I have to scroll through here. But when I set up the preliminary budget, I used the previous levy we had, and then I always just bump it up a little bit because that levy can sometimes be more or less than what we get, than what we actually get. So as a result of looking at numbers, it's not going to be on this one. I had budgeted in there the levy to be $6,767,800. However, when I pulled the levy limit worksheet, it was a little less than what I thought it was going to be. Our allowable core levy, by the way, this does not include debt service, it's just core levy, was $6,735,590. So again, we use that number to balance our budget to make sure that we're within the allowable levy limits, and then we add the debt service to that, and that's how that goes. But anyway, I did have to make that adjustment to account for that actual levy limit that we can charge in the levy limit worksheet. And then the only last thing that wasn't an amendment to the budget, but something I just need to share with you all, is we had last year on November 15th, we received a chargeback notice for $990.54 from the DOR. We had already had our budget adopted and passed at that point, and on November 15th, that's a deadline for county apportionment sheets to be sent out to municipalities. So the county, we covered the $990.54. That is going to be reapportioned out now through the reapportionment process with this levy for this tax year. So there was just not enough time to get that all, to call another budget hearing together and to do all that. So the county covered it. We're just now going to get that money back through that tax amount being reapportioned out to municipalities. So I draw your attention to this total up here. This $10,819,040.85 plus the $990.54 that's not going to show on here because we already paid that expense last year. That's all going to be reapportioned out to for taxes. So I have a resolution with the levy, but based on the three sheets that you have before you, this workbook, the levy distribution by fund and the levy distribution by department, those were the only updates that were made. It was around a $31,000 difference from the prelim versus what I now call proposed budget. So otherwise, every other total that was on there remained the same. We just updated those because we had the updated numbers.
So we got a little bit more in shared revenue, but our allowable operational levy was actually reduced.
Yeah. And it does, it kind of goes, it can be up or down. So that's why I just really like to stick with what we had the year
It
before.
went down a couple years ago, and so
Correct.
it's now happened again.
So, it has
By
done
about
that.
$22,000.
Yeah, around there, yeah.
So now, that's not necessarily bad news for the taxpayers of the county because that's less money we're allowed to take out of their pockets for operations, but
That means they don't have it for operation.
that's right. And 22,000 may not seem like a lot, but when you're looking at how other numbers are shifting,
And so the workbook documents that, again, I won't go through them all tonight, but all those documents you've seen before, it's the same thing, just with the updated numbers. Again, I wish I didn't do this to you guys, sorry.
just getting motion set, that's okay.
I know, sorry, I don't know where the thing is, it usually lets me click it by document. Nonetheless, does anyone have any questions to me about those changes? The prelim we presented last time, there was no direction from you guys to do anything different or to change it, so we again left it the same, updated them as these final numbers come in. I don't anticipate any other final numbers coming in before October 20th. Slight reminder, budget hearing's October 20th this year, a little earlier than normal, but.
Which is a Monday night.
It is a Monday,
Yes,
correct.
county board will meet on a Monday night in October, so just be aware.
So, I will
For
entertain
the
any.
original date? Whoa, you better write that down.
You'll get a reminder, don't worry, this is an important one.
I'll send an email out tomorrow.
So it's going to be when again?
October 20th.
20th.
Yep.
So I also updated the budget summary that we had last time, so again, you guys have that, same exact thing. I may change the format of the way this looks. There's a line that won't come off this PowerPoint and just drives me nuts and I can't figure it out. So I may just redo this PowerPoint so that line is gone because I just want it to look a certain way. Beyond that, this is all stuff we've covered. I just want to take you to the resolution. So this is the resolution that many of you have seen before that literally notes what we'll have for our sales tax, 1.6 million amount there. And then that levy that I have rounded, I tried the DOR rounds numbers, so this would be assuming that those numbers are rounded the way that they should be. On October 5th, we'll have the county apportionment sheets, and I'll double check those numbers on October 5th to make sure everything is reconciled.
Would it be inappropriate for us to break out the levy statement of what's operational and what's debt service?
It is not, and I think what I'm going to do with this is I was talking to one of my counterparts in a different county, and they have like the library aids on there, bridge aid, chargeback, so I think I'm going to modify this a little bit to have that broken out so you see all what composes that 10801.
For me personally, that's what I like to try to educate the public on is, yeah, we're borrowing money, and here's the two pots of money are different. You can only spend borrowed money on certain things, and everything else you got to pay for with operational money, and there's only so much of that. And you can't just borrow money to replace operational money, because that's not allowed. So.
And the breakout then too would explain, if you look at the levy limit worksheet, that's going to have those two, your operational and your debt service levy. But then there's the apportionments that we apportion out as well, so it would explain those as well. So I will update that for sure. I was going to.
Very good.
That's good. That's great.
Are there committee members' questions on the preliminary budget? Sort of the official budget. Is our action needed to advance this to full board?
Need a motion for that?
That's what I'm.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion to do
Okay.
that? And tell me
Motion for Mr. Frank, second by Mr. Manning to move this on to the full board for approval. Any further discussion?
Thank you for the work on this. It's
Yes.
so much clearer than the ones I've seen in previous.
In my time on the board, this has gotten easier to understand, and not just because I've been here a while, so appreciate your efforts very
Yeah,
much.
it helps.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
All right.
Anyone opposed? All right, move on to item 9. Discussion and possible action, 6-month performance review process for county administrator. We're coming up on the time when our new county administrator will have been with us 6 months. Terms of her contract state that she gets a performance review when that happens. Wanted to check with the Executive Finance Committee, who is charged with doing that, as to what method we want to use. In the past, we've done a very inclusive and complicated process where we go out to department heads and all board members, which does gather a lot of input, but it takes time. Since this is a 6-month review and not an annual review, which is also specified in the contract that should be an annual review, do we want to do it informally? Is there some formal process you'd like to follow? What's the committee's feeling?
Left a little complicated.
Okay.
I would say 6-month
Anything-
review should be pretty much informal. I would say.
Okay.
What information do we gather for an informal? When you say informal, what do we?
Well, it's pretty informal, so
Right, exactly.
you can
That's why-
define
that's why
yourself
I'm
what
trying to
information you
determine
want to gather.
what that
It could be anecdotal comments from this committee. It could be seeking out selected people you might want to talk to specifically to get feedback. It's up to us. With our previous administrator, when we did a 6-month review, Marty was still chair, and it was really quite informal. It was a conversation, and we moved on from there. But to contrast with what came for the annual review, which was
More deep.
the lengthy process that may have been too lengthy. So. Mr. Carroll.
I will say this, though, I think it should be a two-way dialogue. Your views on things, too.
I would say it's a sound principle to have some self-evaluation component of it.
Definitely.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. With some recommendations, I would also solicit input from at least one department head, as a direct subordinate, and at least one elected official who is not a subordinate to the administrator, but works closely with her.
Okay. Any of those suggestions?
I guess I like the idea of one department head. I guess I was thinking of, if there were
How many department heads do we have in the
It's
county?
about 21.
You know, if we had 3 or 4, I think that would be maybe a better, I don't know how you pick those, randomly pull them out of a hat.
I can bring my D&D dice next meeting.
Hey, rolling for evaluation?
Yeah. I guess I'd like to see more.
Shields, really.
Yeah, and I'd like to see some comments from the administrator on the self-evaluation. I think that should be a piece of it
And
also.
we would do this when?
Well, it's coming up, what is the anniversary date, Trish?
I think it's the 24th or the 21st.
21st of October.
October.
So yeah, at our next meeting, we could finalize what process we want to use and put it in motion.
Yes.
On the 14th.
Yep. But if we have an idea of what we want, I can try to pull something together. And
Is there a procedure if there is a department head that's got a complaint?
Yes.
And who does that person complain to?
I would hold up a mirror at this point. Yeah, so
Just as long as there is something out there that.
the general grievance procedure is a written grievance is filed with a department head if it's an interpersonal conflict, with the administrator if it's a grievance against the department head, and then that can be appealed to this committee. If the grievance is against the administrator, this goes directly to this committee. After that, we go directly to this committee.
and we would meet in closed session to do the actual evaluation and then come out of open session after
Does that give you enough guidance?
that. I can put something together. I can check with Mr. Windle or make sure I properly encompassed what he was suggesting, because that's all I had nodding about that process, so.
That would be great.
And I'll see if he's willing to loan us his dice, so we can randomly select department heads and stuff. So, when we do the annual evaluation, probably we give board members an opportunity to have their voice heard. And certainly if people have feedback on the administrator's performance, they're always welcome to contact a board member or this committee to make sure that we hear what's going on.
We have 6 months to figure out that procedure.
Yes. So I don't know that it's advisable to use the one we used last time. So. All right. Item 10, we're skipping. Item 11, discussion and possible action, approval of training agreement for ambulance services.
So this started with Barb Scott, who is the interim EMS director, that she found that they do not currently have anything put in place that encourages individuals to work to get their EMT or their AEMT. If you look at the agenda item cover, they do have the cost there in her proposal, and I am supporting this, is that if there are staff members that are wanting to do these things, that the county reimburses them for those costs with the commitment that they stay an additional 18 months. I do want to note, Pine Valley does something similar, the sheriff's office does something similar, sometimes they'll pay for the jail academy, I think it's the jail academy, that they will pay for those different things. It is a way to get employees to come here and then a way to keep them.
And then if they leave before that, then they're subject to some recovery, at least partially at the cost. Right?
Correct.
I think it's a great idea. That's, yeah,
Okay.
that kind of service to get people.
So there currently has been no encouragement or incentive?
Nothing formal?
Nothing formal as far as incentive. If it's happened in the past, I don't know about it, but there's nothing formal. And so that's the hope of the resolution and then having the training.
So Kara makes a motion. I have a second. Second from Mr. Frank. Move this on to the board. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Very good. Move that on. That brings us to item 12, correspondence.
None to report.
We have no correspondence. Future agenda items. Obviously, we'll be talking about the administrator evaluation. What else do we want to have on the agenda?
We need to talk, I think, about this Pine Valley and ambulance.
Ambulance contract / Pine Valley issue. Other items? Mr. Garrett?
Do we need to do any more follow-up on the agency's radios, or is that?
We're continuing to work on it. I just really wanted to give this committee an update for the purpose of if anybody reaches out to you, you can tell them, call Trish.
So it doesn't necessarily need to be on our agenda. Okay.
There probably will be a radio tower report, so.
Yep.
Would it be a good idea, I'm gonna be going through there tomorrow, to stop at Yuba and ask them to make a complete list of every radio they got and what it's capable, you know, serial number or model number.
Great. And Mike Day has asked them, they have all that, so it could even be just popping in and saying, you know, do you know what you need to give? If you don't know, please be connecting with Mike.
And Trish is waiting on you.
Yes.
I've been talking to them.
Well, and they do quarterly meetings, they do, letters have gone out, and this has been going on for
It's a long time.
a long time, and just not getting responses.
Well, they were under the understanding that the radios weren't working because the new towers were up.
And now you know.
No,
See, that's the misunderstanding that's gotta be
Right.
stopped.
I mean, I went up to the construction site, it's just a hole in the ground right now.
All right, any other future agenda items?
Supervisor Turk, I have three that we have noted.
Yes, sir.
We prepared our agenda ahead of time here. The approval updates to the procurement policy, which we'll talk about tomorrow. From CRC, you had you wanted demolition of campus buildings and associated costs to come to this committee, so got that on there. And then likely amendments to the county wage scale with the addition of steps to be made. Are you ready for that?
Yes.
Very good. I have a good agenda. Yes, Mr. Carroll.
Who's letting the demolition up for bid?
Who's putting it out for bids?
Who specifically?
We don't know yet. Haven't got that
So
far.
who is going to draft the RFP?
And within the county, who's gonna draft it and
I have talked with Josh Elder, and he's going to take the lead on that process.
All right, any other future agenda items? If not, Mr. Manning makes a motion to adjourn, second by Mr. Carroll. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned, thank you.